Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Amy Farley with Fast Company, and I have the pleasure of introducing Amy Brooks, who is the President, Team Marketing and Business Operations, and Chief Innovation Officer of the NBA. The NBA has been leading all of the majors in terms of its embrace of innovation and new technologies, and its far-sighted experiments in sort of adjacent markets. So this is a great opportunity to talk to Amy about everything the NBA is up to and how she thinks about innovation.
I'm excited to have two Amy's.
Yeah, two Amy's side by side. Obviously products of the 80s here. Exactly. So Amy, last season, the 2017-2018 season, the NBA surpassed records for attendance. You had 22 million people that went to an NBA game. During the regular season, you hit new records for regular season game attendance. You reached nearly 18,000 people a game, is that right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you've spent a lot of time making sure that people who are not at a game can experience the NBA in more robust and rich ways. And I think it's safe to say the centerpiece of that is your League Pass streaming product. So I'd like to start by talking to you about the ways that you've really enhanced League Pass and brought new experiences into it, because it's an important, prominent product, but it also is a real place for experimentation for you.
Absolutely. It's to your point, we feel we have this fantastic global opportunity because only 1% of our fans will ever attend a game, be those 22 million. So how do we reach with those fans with new products? And so League Pass has been a way for us to try to become more personalized and more versatile with some of what we've done. So it's a big priority for us to be testing different ways that people can consume it, because not everyone wants the same thing, not everyone speaks the same language, not everyone's an NBA fan for the same reasons. So it's been a great platform for us.
So could you talk about some of the things you've tried with it? I mean, I know you've done things with VR and AR, and this season even you've announced a relationship with Magic Leap. Can you talk about some of the things you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Magic Leap, we're partnering with Magic Leap on a second screen type of platform, and it's in beta stage right now. But what we're looking to do is to create an immersive experience for the viewer where they can watch live games, but they can also have a second screen digital experience, such as Shaquille O'Neal in their living room if your ceilings are high enough. And there are some really interesting things we can do with that as a company. We're also looking to experiment with different types, as one example, different types of language in broadcast. So we did a game this year where we're testing with our International League Pass product a commentator, an influencer commentator, so interviewing or commentating from their living room on a game. This is very similar to what you see on Twitch with very different commentators. So we had a commentator in Connecticut commenting on a game, and we had a commentator in Brazil, in Portuguese, commenting on a game. And we see that, and as long our League Pass product, as well as some of our teams testing new and different things. The Clippers are one example as well, with a new Court Vision product that you may have heard from Steve Ballmer. I'm happy to talk a little bit about that, because that's along the same lines. It is a way for you to consume the game, and there are different modes by which you can consume the game. You can consume it in mascot mode, which adds fun animations when there's a dunk or a great play. You can consume it in coach mode, which really shows you some of the strategic direction of the game. And you can consume it in a way where they'll show you at any one time a player's shot percentage from anywhere on the court. There's different camera views. So all of this goes towards testing personalization in the broadcast, and it's been a great platform for us. And we think in the future, it's not just going to be a one-way experience of you watching television. It is going to be a two-way experience, and we want to prepare for that.
I mean, when you're working with somebody like Magic Leap or a company like Magic Leap, which is sort of out there on the cutting edge, how much are these just sheer experimentations, and how much do you sort of have metrics and certain metrics that you want to hit in terms of fan engagement in order to prove that this is something that you need to keep?
It is such an emerging industry, and we're really in test and learn phase. And so we feel that if we're starting with a firm, we have to hit this metric, we might miss an opportunity to learn. So we would rather learn and adjust along the way. There are so many different vendors and potential partners. A lot of it is picking the right companies that you really trust to innovate with. But we are not as concerned about the reach initially because we think this is developing and this will really come. We want to just test and really see how the fans are reacting. That's why the Clippers product, I think, is a great example because they're going to be able to learn so much about which of those different products and streams resonates with their fan, and they'll be able to adjust to really optimize for those fans.
I want to talk to you about that relationship that you have with the teams and the owners, because you obviously are with the NBA, but then you also have 30 different teams with owners, and they have opinions, and obviously they're probably thinking about new ways that they can incorporate new technologies and new products into what they do. How much is there a formalized process for you to take ideas that, say, Steve Ballmer is experimenting with the Clippers and bring them into the NBA?
We try to do as much of it as we can. We're very fortunate to have the owner group that we do, extremely tech savvy, extremely forward looking. And so we have both formal and informal ways of engaging with them alongside our ownership meetings. Every year we'll have committee meetings where we'll discuss some of our strategic issues. But for people like Steve Ballmer, for people like Ted Leonsis that are very well versed in the media space, we'll work with them on an ongoing basis. So all of our work at the NBA on what we call the optimal game telecast and testing, and we've done a lot at our last summer league to test various different technologies in terms of cameras and different angles and different ways for fans to consume the game and different things around signage. And we talk a lot to Steve about his results with testing as well, and with Ted about Monumental Sports Network, which is their own streaming product. So again, in a test and learn environment, it's great to have very capable, forward-looking advisors that are willing to push themselves and to push us as well.
That's one thing, you bring up the camera angle, so that was a really foresighted move, I thought, by the NBA. I think it was last year, you went into every arena and installed new cameras so that you could get tighter angles so that people that are watching it on the live pass streaming can, on mobile view, have a more rich experience that you wouldn't get from sort of the traditional angles that cameras would catch. Is that something that took a lot of effort to get the owners to buy into this? Is it sort of, what's the process of getting them to sort of implement these things that you guys want to do? Do they have a veto? Do they ever exercise it?
Well, I think the great thing is our owners are on the same page. They want us to innovate in this space. They want to make our broadcast more engaging, and they want to make our game experience more engaging. And so we have a fantastic relationship with our teams where it really isn't a hurdle, and they want us to come in, they want us to test. You know, in Summer League, for example, we're testing various different cameras. We're testing a camera that can, in the locker room, when we're doing filming in the locker room, sometimes it's uncomfortable for the players. Well, we're testing a camera that you can just snap in and snap out right away. And we're we test things in their arenas with our player tracking system, absolutely, that we've helped install. And then we're also testing things that will benefit them down the road. So during Summer League, we were testing a mobile view for our game, a vertical view for our game that fills up the 9x16 screen. And it's a very different experience. You're stacking things on top of each other, but we really found that people are watching those games. So when we talk to our teams, they're extremely supportive, they're extremely inquisitive. More and more, they're talking, we feel that it's better to have 30 teams out there innovating on their own. A lot of times teams will bring ideas to us. We don't want them to think like the league is doing this innovation. It is truly a collaborative effort. So I think we have a good relationship going.
So I want to talk about another big moment for professional sports, and that was the legalization of betting outside of states outside of Nevada. And the NBA has been really fast, or seemingly very fast, on sort of jumping on this and getting out ahead of it. You signed a partnership with MGM, and then recently you've announced a partnership with 2 data companies to bring real-time data out of your games so that people can bet sort of in-game. You can facilitate in-game betting. Can you talk about why it was so important for you to jump out in front of this? And it was interesting when we talked earlier, I said this seems very fast, and you said this is actually very meticulous and methodical. So can you tell us why you need to be so methodical in this?
Well, we have to be methodical with this because the number one thing is preserving the integrity of our game. This is a situation that we were out in front of because it's happening anyway. There's tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars bet illegally on sports. And we feel that it is advantageous to make sure it's regulated. And so we spent a lot of time making sure and on the legislative process, obviously we're an advocate of a federal framework. We are now in a world where it is a state-by-state framework, and there are 8 states that have now approved. But number one is in the legislation in those states, making sure that the integrity of the game is preserved via various measures. So, you know, there are really 3 things we're focused on in this space, that being first and foremost. And the second really being about that this is not just about revenue, this is about fan engagement at the end of the day. And we've seen how this particular activity can drive people to come to more games, to watch more games, to engage more in sports. So we think it's a great opportunity for us. And then you referenced our new partnerships with Genius Sports and Sports Radar around official data. Again, this ties to integrity, but in an environment where betting is legal, people who are betting need real-time access to official data. And so we feel that's imperative. And so we're working very hard with key partners to make sure that fans have access to that.
Can you talk a little bit more about how this sort of in-play betting is part of the fan engagement?
Absolutely. It's important. And you know, the NBA is legal to bet on in other countries, and we've studied the UK, for example, as one example. And over 2/3 of the bets placed on the NBA there are in-play betting, in-play bets. So who scores the first point of the third quarter, et cetera. Now, with that, it makes real-time data even more important. And to be able, because otherwise it's called uptime. So for betting operators, they will take bets off the book if it isn't real time, if it isn't able to be managed in real time. We want to make sure that there's continuity and consistency in betting, and so the more betting operators that can have access to official data real time, these are official NBA people courtside doing this, we think that will again go back to preserving the integrity of the whole process.
Quality data.
Yep.
So another thing I'd like to touch on is your approach to esports. Last spring, you debuted the NBA 2K League with 17 teams. You've added 4 more now. You've kept this in-house, and this sort of puts you up against these giants like Riot Games and Activision Blizzard that are bringing, you know, tens of thousands of people into stadiums to watch these massive tournaments. How does the NBA, which is obviously focused on professional real sports, compete with these gaming giants?
Well, we think it's an opportunity for us to grow the game of basketball, first and foremost, and we're very focused on that in partnership with Take-Two, who creates NBA 2K, and we're proud of the fact that NBA 2K sold 10 million copies this year, and it's the second best-selling sports game in the world after FIFA. So taking this massively growing industry, we think there's a real opportunity to play in a significant way in this space. And I go back to my comments earlier about our global opportunity. One of our biggest challenges, I was just in China a couple weeks ago, and it's just fascinating how popular the NBA is. It's really hard for us to bring live games there. But with this league, we think there's an opportunity down the road to have teams located globally competing in this league, and that's something we're focused on. So in addition, they're talking about and they're playing basketball. And so if we can use this to drive more games, get more people interested in the NBA period, going back to, will they buy League Pass? Will they become NBA fans? Will they go to a game? So it's again, I go back to the word test and learn too. It's been fantastic. We talk about the telecast for the NBA. Well, this has been a great test and learn scenario because our NBA 2K games are broadcast on Twitch. So if you haven't gone to Twitch, I really recommend everyone at least try it because it's a different viewing experience. And what's been unique with this is every game we play, there are tens of thousands of chat comments scrolling along the bottom. So it allows us to engage with these people. It allows us to learn what they like, what they don't like. So it's been a great experiment for us, and we're really bullish about the future.
So when you look at the NBA 2K, you're thinking of it more as a marketing vehicle right now, at least, than getting to the place of big arena tournaments.
We think there's potential down the road, absolutely, for all of this. And we're paying close attention to the other esports because you look at the size of the esports industry, and there's potential for a lot of different players to play. And we think that sports games uniquely has a great opportunity in this space as well.
What in particular have you learned from seeing sort of the way people respond to these games on Twitch and the communication that happens between players and fans and viewers on Twitch? What do you think might filter into the NBA or to League Pass?
Yeah, I think the multiple types of commentators, they want to hear different people commenting about the game. I think we're trying to infuse that into League Pass. The chat opportunity is really interesting as well. People want to interact in real time with others that are watching the game, and how you capture that is going to be, I think, a great opportunity, not just on a separate social media platform, but within the viewing experience itself. But it's been fun. You know, we had over 70,000 people try out to participate in this league, and it was great to be at the draft and see these young people so excited to be drafted, welcomed on stage by Adam Silver. There's so many synergies with our sport and with our game. We're excited about it.
So what ties together all these experiments or not beyond experiments, but with the League Pass and with the new ways to view content, with gaming and with betting? Sort of, what are you measuring all of these experiments up against, or what are you trying to achieve with all of them?
Again, we're trying to take a very fan-centric view, and we are noticing that, again, 1% of our fans can ever go to a game. So how can we truly bring the live game experience to them, and in unique and more engaging ways? And that's where sports betting fits in. That's where these optimal game telecast elements fits in. But it is this global opportunity for us, and we don't lose sight of the fact that, you know, our average viewer today is 42, and we have a social media fan base that's 1.5 billion followers among players, leagues, and team, and over half of those are outside the US. And so you take all of that together, and it's really about delivering something really compelling to the fan at the end of the day. And you look at all the market trends, and so it's a fun, strategic, and creative project for us, and there's never a dull moment, which is great, but we think it's a big opportunity.
Do you ever worry, I mean, do you have to sort of make sure that you're not cannibalizing that experience for the 22 million people who did attend a game last year?
Absolutely. We continue to innovate around the live game experience as well. And I spend a lot of my time, I oversee our team marketing and business operations group, digging into that experience. I was just in Milwaukee with their brand new building. I was just in Atlanta. And we see teams continually transforming the physical nature of their building, often to be a lot more community-oriented. The on-court entertainment we try to continue to improve, to infuse technology to make sure the fans in the upper bowl have just as good of an experience as the fans in the lower bowl. But we feel that's such a unique product, and it is, these arenas have become almost, David Stern used to call it a modern-day town hall. When the Warriors move downtown next year, all of our arenas will be in downtown locations. And we don't take that for granted at all, because that is really the first and foremost thing for us, is making sure we have a great live game experience. But we see the opportunity in replicating that experience if we can have a product down the road that brings someone into the game in different types of access, because that's what works so well in our arenas. People like different types of experiences and access, but if you've got a product that's digital that can bring someone into the huddle for a moment, that can bring someone into the post-game press conference, that can give someone a different view, that's what we're striving for, because we think that's a product that will be, and we talk about the Magic Leap and the AR, we just have to find out, like, what can we deliver to that fan?
Bringing people into the huddle, bringing people into the post-game stuff, that's all through League Pass as well?
Well, there's a vision, and there's what's being done today, right? Of course, we want to preserve the game and the sanctity of our game, but we also want to give fans access, and there's always a balance there. But if you take a step back just from a creative standpoint, there's a lot that we could do to bring people in China closer to the game, and we just need to match the technology with the right things that fans want.
So you hinted at this before, but you have no shortage of companies who would love to align with the NBA, who would love for you to embrace their technology. How do you evaluate all of these opportunities? You have a recent partnership with Intel Capital to look for opportunities for investment. Can you talk about that, what has come out of that, and if that is sort of if that's your main conduit for exploring new companies, or if
it's I think a lot of you in this room can probably identify there's more opportunity than ever in the we'll call it the technology space to innovate around all of our businesses, and it's a real challenge. There are many different potential partners to partner with that will, the number of emails I get weekly that say, hey, I've got this great idea that will help with the fan experience, and how you parse those, it can't just be a role of an innovation team. It can't just be the role of the league. I talked about the teams before. We see all of our teams as innovators in their own spaces, and we have methods for sharing best practices in those. We have league meetings all the time. But it is also partners like Intel. So we have a partnership with Intel from a technology standpoint. And we also have a partnership around their Intel Capital Group, because they have this massive function that enables to do a lot of the diligence and vetting of these companies. And they have a lot of goals that are synergistic with ours. So if we can partner together to identify companies that might be a fit for both of us, it'll just be a lot more efficient.
But Intel is not perhaps your only partner in this realm?
Certainly not our only partner in this realm, but an important one.
Have you made any investments with them yet? Or?
We're still evaluating several, but we meet quarterly, and it's a great conversation because they come at it from a slightly different angle than we do, and it's been I think there's some potential there.
I'd love to know if you look at other major leagues for inspiration in terms of technology and new fan experiences, either on the court and off the court.
Yeah, all the time. We look to domestic sports leagues. We look a lot to soccer around the world. We see what soccer globally has with their membership clubs, for example. And I think that's fantastic. As we look to build out a global fan base, having bigger membership clubs that have access to digital products is such an opportunity, but we're always looking at other leagues. Imitation is really the best form of flattery, and we sit down and share we host different leagues and different executives all the time, and we're not afraid to share what's working for us, because we think the more we can grow sports collectively, the better it is for all of us.
Are there any sort of domestic leagues that you think have done an interesting job?
Just to name one, we think that what the Vegas Golden Knights have done is really intriguing from a fan experience standpoint, and seeing what they've been able to accomplish there in terms of both engaging the fans there and in the city has been great.
Yeah. Are there other companies that you look to for sort of examples of experimenting with technology in ways that feel very experimental, but not just I don't know, kind of tech happy for the sake of being tech happy?
The list is long. We're fortunate to have partners in this space like SAP that are very focused on technology as well and being in the forefront. So we spend a lot of time talking to them about what types of things we could do together. They power our stats today, and we're doing a lot more with them. But there's a variety, both our partners as well as just we're always paying attention to what's in the industry. We were fortunate enough last week, I think I mentioned this to you, to just have someone from Google who leads their innovation there just talk to us about their process with innovation at that company. We spend a lot of time trying to learn what different companies do in terms of innovation as to inform us where the NBA should play in that space.
And are there any technologies out there that you think are just overrated or just not right for the NBA that you guys have evaluated and walked away?
I never like to write something off because then it's quoted and I come back and it's like, you said this last year. No, I think we really try to take an open mind to this. We still see a lot of potential in VR and AR, and I think some people have said, oh, wait, it's not, but yeah. If you have patience with these things and you see the vision, I think it could be really intriguing. So we really do try to have an open mind with things.
So you're still waiting for that moment when the VR experience comes alive for a fan?
Well, it is in a lot of ways, but we do see a vision down the road that won't entail a massive headset all the time, and we see a very engaging opportunity when the technology is ready to get people directly immersed in a really interactive way.
All right. Excellent. And with that, we are out of time. But I want to thank Amy for sharing her insights this morning, and for continuing to keep the NBA sort of front and center, because it is exciting to watch what you guys do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.